All right, everyone, welcome back to the Tempe DC podcast. It is August 20th, Sunday, and we are fresh off of UFC 269. I didn't realize it was actually, I'm mistaken. Excuse me, not UFC 69, 292. Okay, Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley just had their bout for the bantamweight title, and O'Malley knocks out Sterling with a vicious KO in the second round. Before I get to that fight, let me talk real quick about some of the news coming up for the gym. On August 26th, this coming Saturday, we're going to be closed. The gym is going to be closed. Don't show up for classes. We've got Logan Diaz fighting his first MMA bout over at SF Combat in Napa. We've got Jiu-Jitsu World League that same day. A lot of Jiu-Jitsu competitors out there competing. So the gym is not going to be open for classes. Go out there and support your teammates and go enjoy your teammates putting on a show for y'all. And if you guys have questions, let me know. Everything over at the gym is starting to pick up. School's coming back now, so people are coming back in, and we're seeing a lot of familiar faces come back from summer vacay. So excited to see you all, and let's get back to it. Let's make sure we all are training hard in the gym, pushing each other, and doing better every single day we arrive. We want to make sure a lot of you guys who are newer keep updated, so stay tuned on this podcast. Again, we'll be updating with you guys on any news coming up in the future. If you guys have questions or anything, again, let me know or let one of the staff know, and we'll get you guys on your way. So again, today we don't have too many gym announcements. We got a lot of stuff to talk about after the UFC fight last night. It was just a crazy night of fights. I think we've seen a new superstar arise. I mean, I guess Sean has already been a superstar for many years, but I think at this caliber now, the fact that he's now the undisputed champion, we're going to see a lot more out of Sugar Sean. But let's talk about the fights leading up to it. So, again, this past week also, we had the contender series, and we had the TUF, right? Well, TUF wrapped up on Friday. Saturday. The same show was the TUF finale, right? And we saw Brad Katona become the new bantamweight TUF winner, and we saw, what was the other guy's name, Mark?
Cody Gibson,
okay, win his fight for the welterweight or lightweight?
Cody Gibson was Brad Katona's opponent, and then Kurt Hollabaugh wins the lightweight.
The lightweight TUF. That's
against
right.
Austin Hubbard.
Yeah, that was great. Katona and Gibson, their fight was a banger. I think Gibson had some moments definitely in the fight, but then toward the end, Katona was just ripping shots and really hurt Cody at the end. And, it was a really tough battle for them. And Katona, as the first time, 2-season TUF winner. So congrats to Brad Katona. And then we had, again, the second fight for the lightweight title was who are the opponents again, Mark?
Kurt Hollabaugh versus Austin Hubbard.
Austin Hubbard lost via submission, triangle choke. And you guys got to see that scramble. Mark just showed me earlier before we were on the podcast. Man, what a transition. I think they were in a mount position. Hubbard tried to kick off the cage, and Gibson, right?
Kurt Hollabaugh.
Kurt Hollabaugh. I'm mixing him up with Gibson. But Kurt was able to transition from an armbar, from the mount to an armbar attack to a triangle, ended up winning via triangle. So very beautiful transition and very, very beautiful submission. Go check that out if you guys haven't seen it. Really good. It's on ESPN Plus on the prelims. On the prelims as well, we had the Chris Weidman return fight. Chris Weidman, if you guys remember a few years back, broke his leg against Uriah Hall. I forget, Mark, look up which leg. Figure out which leg he broke, because he did break his leg against Uriah Hall. And since that time, he has not returned for the last 2 years. Since that time, Uriah Hall actually has retired himself from MMA. And he came back against a solid fighter. Brad Tavares has been around for a long time, a veteran. Which leg we got, Mark?
It was the right leg.
It was the right leg. So Weidman breaks his right leg in the fight. And during this fight, it seemed like he tore up his knee on his left side. I'm not sure again which side, but he messed up his leg again, and it was unfortunate to see. No leg break, luckily. Ligament damage is pretty familiar to all fighters, and it's unfortunately a common thing with guys with ligaments that they tear every now and then. But bone breaks are much, much worse, and they're very, very painful. They're much more deliberating to your movement, and you're in a place where you have to recover and let that bone heal before you can do anything else. Fighters can sometimes fight with their ligaments snapped and torn, and they'll push through it. But a bone break, that's not happening. Bone breaks are something you got to sit out for. And Weidman took a long time to recover from this bone break, and it was a vicious bone break. If you guys remember it, man, reminiscent of the time he broke Anderson Silva's bones. So you guys saw, that bone break, and he finally made his return. But unfortunately, it didn't go his way. Tavares was just vicious on him from the get-go. We saw some clips of the fight, and Brad was just throwing heavy, a lot of leg kicks, and Weidman just did not look like his old self. I don't think he ever will look like his old self. Chris Weidman is, again, one of the legends in UFC, like the first person to really put a stop to Anderson Silva's reign and just really put a stamp on that. And he was a good middleweight champion for his reign. Got stopped by Luke Rockhold in that one fight when he went for that spinning kick. But nonetheless, again, a fighter that deserves respect and demands respect. It does not seem like he is going to relive his prime days, but he may have a few more fights left. Looks like most of the community is calling for his retirement, and it'll be up to him to see what he does. But it was unfortunate to see a guy of such caliber, have to go out like that or have to take that beating. And Brad Tavares, again, is not a newcomer either, but you can definitely see that Brad Tavares physically and health-wise was in better shape. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes for Chris Weidman, but, I would not be too surprised if he calls it quits pretty soon. What other fights we got, Mark?
It'd be nice to see him do more grappling matches, too, because he did what was it? Polaris earlier this year.
Oh yeah, that's right. But I mean, you do grappling matches, fine. Again, living up to your UFC and your MMA days of your prime, it's difficult. With jiu-jitsu, you can stretch that longevity out a little bit more. It's not as taxing. You're not taking as much physical impact, and you're not taking strikes and blows. That's a huge thing. So, who knows? Maybe Chris Weidman got some opportunity to work his grappling. I mean, he is training with Matt Serra as well, and those guys over there, they're all they were formerly with the Danaher team and Renzo Gracie team. So, we got an opportunity there to continue to do some grappling matches. We'll see, but yeah, I don't expect to see Chris Weidman fighting for no UFC titles anytime soon. But other than that, we have any others on the prelims, Mark, that were pretty solid fights? I didn't remember.
I didn't get to see any of the other ones.
Let me see. Devon Blackshear, that was the main card, right? Devon Blackshear.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me pull up real quick the fight list, because there was, I'm thinking of one more fight on the prelims. Gregory Rodriguez gets the KO in the first round. I saw that one. That was a vicious KO. So Gregory, that fight, the whole card, had some. The prelims had some solid fights. Early prelims, I didn't get to watch either, but I did see the Gerald Meerschaert fight and the Andre Petrovsky fight, and that was pretty solid. Two grapplers, and they were kind of at a spot where they were kind of stalemated because they both had such good grappling, and they ended up throwing hands a lot. Meerschaert was on a 8-fight or 7-fight streak, and then looks like Andre snapped that. So Andre is back, and he is going to be continuing up on the middleweight division, and Gerald's got he's got to do some damage control and get back another victory before he starts to climb up even more. But Gerald's, he's been around a long time. 50th UFC fight, over 50 MMA fights. Andre looks like it was his 12th fight, so he's still young and hungry. We'll see what the future remains for those two fighters. Now, let's move on to the main card. Now, I was not able to see the first fight of the night. Neither was Mark, right? But we have Chito Vera beating Pedro Munhoz, and looks like by decision. Now, as you all may remember, Marlon Vera, one of the last guys to defeat Sugar Sean O'Malley, and that one is a debatable one, right? Mark, what's your thoughts? You think Chito beat Sean that night? On paper, yeah, he did. Of course, on paper, he cheated. He beat him. But did you think it would have went Sean's way or Chito's way if it had not been for that nerve damage that Sean said he got on his leg?
That was the ankle, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think he. So what happened in that fight, if I recall correctly, Marlon Vera and Sugar Sean O'Malley met, and they had a good bout. And then I think Marlon threw a low kick right at Sean and hit a nerve on Sean's leg, and it started to make Sean's foot go numb, and he wasn't able to get his footing back. And I believe they stopped it because of that. And if I'm not, I don't remember if it was like a TKO, like a follow up with punches afterwards. But I do remember they stopped it, right?
Yeah, it says TKO, elbows, and punches.
Yes. I think that's so Sean boldly does not claim that to be a loss. He's like saying that, just because of that one shot, it would have changed the difference. But again, on paper, Chito got the victory, and I think Chito deserves respect for that. But there's a lot of debate over who is the better fighter, right? And who, if that did not happen, obviously it happened because Cheeto threw the kick, right? So you got to give Cheeto credit. He's definitely a winner on that side. But if they were to go at it again, I think we were going to see something different. We may see a longer fight. We may see a more back and forth fight, and I'm excited to see that. But Mark, do you remember watching that fight, the Cheeto and Sugar Sean fight?
Yeah, now that you're recapping it, I'm starting to remember a little bit, but
I can't grasp either what was the strike count, right? Who was landing more before that, and who was actually getting hurt in that sense. But again, that's a lot of bad blood if they get up to that after this fight, after Marlon beating Pedro Munhoz. That's definitely a contender fight, and he's definitely up there. Along with Corey Sandhagen and Rob Font. Cheeto is definitely a contender. I think, Sandhagen would be the number one contender right now because he just beat Cheeto in his last fight. So Sandhagen's definitely up there. So we'll see since Marlon came back from a victory, he may have to get one more fight before he gets a title shot. But on the other hand, Sugar Sean wants that defense. He wants to defend it against Cheeto after that one loss he had against him. He wants to defend him on his first title defense. So we'll see. Bantamweight's all over the place, but we'll talk about that as we get further into this conversation. Now, you saw the Damon Blackshear fight, Mark? Yes or no?
I saw about half of it. One thing before we move on is
with Marlon?
Yeah, with Sandhagen. So he was out. I think he was out 6 months after his injury against Rob Font. So do you think?
Oh, he's out right now.
Yeah, he's out right now.
That's right. He got injured in the Rob Font fight.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. So again, that just depends on what the champ wants, right? Sugar Sean has got to be able to make the call there, and he said before if he wins the belt, he wants to defend it against Cheeto. So this may be the best incentive for it since Sandhagen is out for that extended period of time. It wouldn't make sense to give it to Rob since he's coming off a loss. It wouldn't make sense to give it to Pedro. Obviously, he just lost. Cheeto is a little more valid, but we've got other guys which we'll talk about in the future. So we'll see about that. So. Tell us about what you saw. I didn't see the Blackshear and the Mario Bautista fight at all, Mark. You saw half of it, you said?
Yeah, I saw about half of it. Bautista's looking tough. I think coming off of that Twister win, a lot of the grapplers were we're hyping Blackshear to have some sick grappling, highlight grappling. But it was a competitive fight, I thought.
Right. I see that. Okay. Well, that one, I mean, Damon Blackshear just 1 week turnover, right, from his Twister win. He fought last week, so that deserves some respect, even though he didn't get the win.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched either fighter that closely, but I'll definitely will keep an eye out in the coming fights when they are on the events. It looks like they're both solid. I did get to tune in starting at the Neil Magny Ian Garry fight. Now that fight was a really fun one to watch, right? Ian Garry was out there, brash, arrogant, going at Neil Magny with the fury, throwing a bunch of low kicks. Neil Magny did not have an answer for the leg kicks. Just kept getting calf kicked over and over and over again. And it was crazy to see Neil Magny not have the size advantage for once, right? Ian Garry is right. I think Ian Garry was taller. Can you see the stats on them, Mark? Because I think Ian Garry is taller, if I'm not mistaken. Because it seemed like Ian Garry was just the bully in there. He was maintaining the range, maintaining the distance, was able to just chop Neil Magny down. Neil Magny could not get to his game. I mean, he was stumbling all over the place because all those leg kicks, and it was just a sight to see. Ian Garry, one of the biggest prospects in MMA right now, straight out of Ireland, just like, I believe Irish, right? I believe he's Irish, straight out of Ireland. And, just like Conor, coming out brash and cocky. And, people love that with fighters. People love to see that swagger. So what do we got, Mark? Where's Ian Garry's height?
The tail of the tape actually says both of them are 6'3".
Okay, sounds about right. I mean, Ian Garry is a tall welterweight, so is Neil Magny. At 170, you got a lot of size to work with there. And typically we see Magny towering over his opponents and just could not have that advantage over Ian Garry. Ian Garry took advantage of the longest weapon you have in the game, your kicks, and just kicking the leg the whole time. Magny was not able to have an answer for that and cruised to a decision. Now, I was surprised that Ian could not finish Neil Magny even after all that, even that huge barrage of leg kicks and just having Magny stumble around. For one, Magny's definitely a tough SOB, but Ian Garry, I don't know where the killer instinct went on those last few rounds, and maybe he was just being conservative because Neil Magny is a legit fighter. You never know. He may get a hold of you, may continue to do damage if he gets a hold of you. So you got to be careful on that side. So you were able to watch that, Mark? What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, all the guys that were watching were pretty surprised that he couldn't get the finish.
We were calling for it. We were yelling for it. Like, where's the? Come on, dude.
He had he was working those low kicks ever since the first round too, and Neil was wearing them. So
yeah, we were talking about it earlier. It seems like Ian Garry is on this cusp of stardom, and he's not near a championship bout yet, but he's kind of in that up and coming range, like kind of how after Conor fought Dustin Poirier or after Darren Till beat Cowboy, he's on that up and rising tick. So we'll see. He's a lot of hype around him. Definitely a great striker, but we'll see when he's tested in the grappling. When he gets down on the ground, he gets forced to work on his get-ups and forced to work on his jiu-jitsu, because he's talking about wanting to fight Wonder Boy, talking about fighting other kickboxers. But the true test is if you fight someone like Khamzat or Shavkat Rakhmonov and sees how he does in the clinch. Once people get a hold of him, let's see. Maybe put him against Durinho. Let's see him versus Gilbert Burns and see how that goes. Ian Garry's got a lot to prove still. He's still got a long ways to go. But again, very exciting prospect, very exciting fighter. Great to see. We'll see how his swagger carries him into the next few years. Because sometimes guys they back up their talk. Some guys write a check their ass can't cash, and it's unfortunate. But Ian Garry is definitely 13-0. He's definitely a legit fighter. He's definitely a dangerous fighter, and we're going to see how the cards play out for him in the near future. So, last thoughts, Mark, on that before we move on to our co-main event of the night.
I think I'd be down to see him go against someone like Luque. I think that'd be a good fight.
Okay. Luque just fought, didn't he? Luque just fought
RDA,
and he lost, right?
RDA won.
Luque won. That's right. Luque, another welterweight contender. Don't sleep on Luque. RDA. I didn't get to watch that fight. That one I have to pull back up and watch. Did you catch that one, by the way? RDA versus Luque?
I thought Luque was going to
finish him?
Yeah.
It was a decision, right?
Yeah.
RDA tough as nails. Never count on RDA.
Super tough.
RDA would have been going. Just one last thing on RDA. I wish he still would have fought Conor to this day. That would have been the matchup to make instead of the Chandler fight.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later. After we talk about Weili Zhang versus Amanda Lemos, and what a fight on that fight. Okay, what a fight on that fight. I know. It was a banger of an event. Amanda Lemos, former boxing champion. Weili Zhang, two-time women's strawweight champion, and just both dirty. I mean, just grinding fight. It was just, they were back and forth. Weili was all over Amanda. Amanda was trying to throw strikes as best she can, but Weili was just all over her from the get-go. And Amanda was never out, but she did get in really bad spots. Got crucifix at one point, was getting hit with big shots, was getting taken down, was just getting like manhandled at sometimes. But Weili definitely did her best to try to finish her, but Amanda was just so tough. Even at the end of the fight, Amanda went in for that double leg takedown, was trying to finish Weili, and just wasn't able to complete the task. Weili was just too strong, and that's kind of what I anticipated. Weili is just too strong, too fast, too explosive, and she's too skilled at this weight class. I don't see many women beating her at any time in the future. Amanda Lemos definitely has skills, but she was never at any point threatening Weili with a finish. She was never close to a finish, and it was just something where kind of just was outclassed in a sense, was not able to keep up on the pace. What did you see in that fight, Mark?
Yeah, just pure domination. But the Amanda Lemos threw up those ninja chokes, but from the bottom, just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem
it didn't have the right angle, didn't have the right grip on it. The ninja choke is an underrated choke. I mean, a lot of people who have felt the ninja choke before, it's when your arm goes under the chin, not from the front facing position. They go under the chin, you wrap around, and you at a weird angle, kind of like you're perpendicular with your opponent. And it's a very tricky choke to finish. She did threaten with it a few times, but it didn't look like it was close. I mean, maybe a few times it felt close to finishing because Weili was definitely turning red a little bit, and there was a sense of urgency. So she respected the choke, but it just wasn't enough to finish Weili, and she was too strong in that fight. Weili, man, it's just look at her. She's just so strong physically, and she's just the way she moves, the way she glides when she's striking, when she's just floating around. You just cannot predict her movement. She can explode at any time. She can throw super hard kicks, super hard punches. She can shoot for the takedown. She can defend the takedown. She can go for submission. She is something else. China has got a champ on their hands, and we've known this for a long time. Maybe we'll see her fight again, I mean, the next contender I can think of would be maybe giving her Rose Namajunas again, because Rose has 2 wins on her, 1 knockout and 1 decision. But I think Weili has definitely improved since then, and it's going to be a different fight if they fight a third time. In the strawweight division, she just beat Carla Esparza. And who else can we pull up in? I know Joanna is now retired. So strawweight doesn't have too many other contenders for Weili Zhang, unless she gets some rematches. But yeah, I think the Rose Namajunas fight would be a great third matchup for them.
Yeah, I think I saw Rose wanted to go up, but I would like to see her fight Tatiana Suarez.
Rose versus Tatiana Suarez?
Weili.
Is Tatiana strawweight?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be the fight. Never mind. Forget everything I said before. I thought Tatiana was a bantamweight or something like that. That's right. Who did she just beat again? It was, she beat Andrade. She just beat Andrade, right? So, that's for sure, because Weili has beaten Andrade and Tatiana dominated Andrade. Let's see Tatiana Suarez versus Weili Zhang. That's the fight to make. I am confident they will make that fight because there's really not much else, right? If you pull up strawweight, Mark, who do we got in the top 5 of strawweight? Let's look up the pound for pound, not pound for pound. Women's strawweight UFC rankings. Who do we got at the top?
So it still has Carla 1.
Carla.
Rose 2.
She beat. Okay. Carla she beat. Rose she hasn't beat.
And then number 3 is Yan Xiaonan.
Yeah, Yan is a good fight. Yan is Chinese as well.
Yeah.
So Battle of China right there. That'd be a good fight.
Then 4 is Tatiana Suarez.
Yeah, Tatiana Suarez right there. Yeah, I
5 is Lemos. Amanda Lemos.
Yeah, I would say, I forgot about Yan. No, she is definitely legit. That would be a great one. They should do that one in China. I don't know if they'd be able to, but that'd be great to do it in Beijing. We'll see. Maybe in Asia or somewhere else like that, because that'd be a banger fight too. But Tatiana Suarez or Yan would be a good next fights for Weili. But we'll see what the UFC has planned for her. Who do you think they're going to give it to her, Mark?
I would love to see Tatiana, to be honest. That'd be a good one.
Tatiana's overdue for it. Her story, we'll talk about her if they do make that matchup. Her story is amazing. We got to make sure we give her respect. Now, moving on to the main event of the night, Sean O'Malley against Aljamain Sterling. Now, again, before this fight was even done and over with, we had our picks. All of us had our picks, right? My pick for my money's worth was going to Aljamain Sterling. I can't lie. I was going to say that Aljamain... I was thinking that Aljamain will play a smart game, just like he's done in the past, right? Like with Peter Yan, just go shoot relentlessly for the takedown, try to take the back, and try to just beat him up in position. Just try to go for it. Try to just go for position, right? In the first round, looked like he was keeping good pressure. Aljamain was moving, and he was, definitely able to avoid any significant damage from O'Malley. O'Malley was doing a good job also moving side to side, wasn't able to get controlled in the clinch or anything like that, and they kept standing for the most part. I got to really watch that first round again. What do you remember from the first round, Mark? Any specific highlights from that first round?
I do remember thinking that O'Malley won the round, but
the judges gave it to Sterling.
Yeah,
all three judges gave it to Sterling. That one was a pick'em round. I think it was maybe just coincidence that they all picked it for Sterling, but I think it could have went to O'Malley as well. O'Malley had landed some shots in there, and it wasn't like he was outclassed. But again, the game plan, what I was thinking it was going to be was just a pressure into the shot. I mean, of all people to strike with, Sean O'Malley is not the one that you want to strike with. If you at all have, even a decent striking caliber, it's still a gamble, right? Sean O'Malley is one of those big hitters in the bantamweight division. One shot can knock you out, and he's definitely dangerous at any time as long as he's got his hands going. And again, this is why I thought Aljamain would play a more conservative game. Like it's not the most exciting of fighting styles, but it is the style that's going to keep you in the W column, so that you're able to continue your championship reign. But it looks like Aljamain, all respect to him, he wanted to make an exciting fight. He wanted to make it exciting. And in the second round, just lunged forward a little too recklessly and got caught with that right hand, that big right hand that O'Malley found over the top. And it was just night for Aljamain. Now, again, when you think about it, he didn't get fully knocked out. He was still there. He was still aware. He wasn't like in space, but he definitely got rocked. He definitely got dropped, and he took over, I think I counted him, over 12 strikes unanswered on the ground. The last strike turned him over. He looked like he was going to go to turtle and do something, but I think the ref saw enough. And again, you can argue that one all day, right? Aljamain definitely took the big shots, but he was not out cold. At the same time, I don't think O'Malley would have let up. Even if he did was able to get up and move around, O'Malley got him hurt. I don't think O'Malley was going to let him off and slide that easily. So that one, again, you got to justify the stoppage, and it's unfortunate to see. For Aljamain's side, it's unfortunate that he didn't get a shot to get his bearings again and continue to fight. And we'll see how that goes. With these days not guaranteed. I don't know if they have a guaranteed rematch clauses in the UFC. Even in boxing they seem to have those, but in the UFC it's kind of just like, if we want you to fight, we'll make you fight. And they want the draws, they want the big fights. O'Malley obviously wants Cheeto. I think after the post-fight press conference, O'Malley wasn't even interested in the talks of Aljamain having a rematch, because Aljamain was talking about, I'm done with 35. He wants to move up to 45, and that was the biggest key there. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. But yeah, bantamweight now has got a new king. Sugar Sean O'Malley is now the king of the bantamweight division, and a lot of us predicted that he'd be great. I mean, I definitely saw greatness in him first time I saw him fight. I saw the power in his hands. I saw his movement. I definitely thought he'd be great. I thought he would definitely be a champion in one form or another, but I didn't realize he'd be a champion this fast. I really did not think he would be able to get it against Aljamain Sterling, but proved me wrong, and definitely is now got a lot of guys going for him. A lot of guys gunning for him here. So before we talk about the future of Sean O'Malley, Mark, what was your thoughts on the fight and predicting leading up to it?
Yeah, I had Aljamain too. I didn't see this one. I didn't see this one coming, but the crowd is really pro O'Malley at Buffalo Wild Wings. So
I think
it was hyped.
I think everyone is pro O'Malley. I mean, unfortunately, when you look at it, Sugar's definitely got his fair share of fans, and Aljamain is not the most fan friendly of fighters. Hate to say it, but there's not a lot of guys who are like dying to see Aljamain Sterling fight. And again, he's the champion. You got to respect him. He's a winner, but no one's like, oh, Sterling. We got to watch this. We got to watch this Sterling fight. He definitely talks. He definitely puts his work in. He's definitely a grinder. But the style of fights, people love to see the O'Malley style. People love to see a stand-up fighter with quick hands, quick knockout power, who can just finish you with one shot. That's what people want to see. There's obviously people who respect the grappling, respect the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling and everything, but that is more of a slow grinding type of fight, a fight that takes longer to draw out the highlight, and you definitely got to work for those kind of finishes. They don't happen quick, they come after a long grinding, dueling matchup, and that's been Sterling's style, unless he jumps on you and finds a submission quick, it's going to take a while for him to get you in position, control you, and then do damage or threaten submission. But O'Malley never wanted to do any of that. Just trying to knock you silly. Just trying to put your lights out. And everyone anticipated that. And I'm surprised Aljo didn't have a little more patience. Just to kind of just feel it out. Just move around, circle around, and try to move the head. Try to just work off of defensive. He switched his stance, and I tell guys all the time, careful when you switch your stance, people. When you switch your stance, you're leaving yourself open to a lot of shots you don't realize are there, because you may be protected when you're in one stance, right? But once you move and open up that stance to the other side, you may be opening yourself up to the power shot, which is exactly what happened with Aljo. Aljo was in a southpaw stance, came forward, tried to throw a left at O'Malley, at the same time lifted his foot off the ground and tried to slide forward into southpaw while his foot was landing and while the punch was missing, ate the right hand of O'Malley and just ate it face forward. And a very, very dangerous predicament that you put yourself in when you switch like that. So be careful out there when you switch in that stance, everyone. Be careful out there.
I remember the same thing with and you just showed me the clip right before the podcast, but I remember thinking the same thing with Aldo and Conor.
Oh, with Aldo, yeah. Aldo came in. Aldo was a little, I think Aldo came in with the left hook as well. And then, just lunged at him. But I don't think Aldo switched. Look that up here, Mark. Look at that Aldo and Conor McGregor finish, because I don't believe Aldo switched his stance. I think Aldo just lunged with a big left hook and was a little too reckless. Definitely left himself open because he left his foot off the ground. Again, same kind of scenario. You don't have to lift your foot off the ground to switch your. You don't have to lift your foot off the ground, every time you're throwing a punch, right? And especially when you lunge like that, your foot's off the ground, they clip you while your foot's off the ground. It's super dangerous. So point that over to me real quick, Mark. Let's see. Yep. Oh, yes. So you can see Aldo, he didn't switch stance. You watch that back. If you guys watch that back, Aldo goes for a cross hook combo, but with the cross, he leaves his feet and then tries to throw the hook, and then Conor clips him with that left straight right down the middle. Boom, right when Aldo is just freaking opened up for that shot. And it's unfortunate to see. You guys watch that back to back with Conor's finish of Aldo and Sugar Sean's finish of Aljamain Sterling. It's a very, very funny comparison. They look eerily similar with those fights. So can't wait to see again. Once we get to a point where, O'Malley's got another task in front of him, another guy who's going to be a little smarter, and see if someone can test him. Because, we were talking about it earlier, like in all honesty, who has Sean O'Malley really been able to beat outside of the top 5 besides Peter Yan, and dominated, right? We haven't seen him dominate anyone in the top 5. Peter Yan was definitely a close fight. Aljamain, this is the most definitive one. He knocked him out, obviously, so that's definitely his fight. But there's not too many other top 5 guys that we've seen him fight. We've got a long list of guys. We've got Chito Vera is now on top. Let's look up the bantamweight top 10 right now. Let's see who we got. Mark, run them off.
All right. It says one here is Merab.
Merab. Okay.
That's a good one. O'Malley was 2.
We got Merab.
Has Cejudo at 3. Sandhagen at 4. And Yan at 5.
Where's Cheeto in there?
6.
So, again, out of all 5, top 5, right? He's faced none of the top 5 besides Sterling, right? If you let's run him back in, right? It was
and
Yan who's in there. We got Merab, he hasn't fought. We have Sandhagen, he hasn't fought.
Cejudo,
who hasn't fought. That was supposed to be Cejudo's tune-up fight. What happened, Henry? What happened? And then that's it, right? So and then Cheeto was number 6. So and Sean was number 2, but now he's the champ. So Sterling's now bumped down. I think Sterling's probably number 2 now. So I mean, Sterling and Yan are the only 2 he's fought. So he's got, again, from the top, Merab. Merab Divashtali, I don't even know if I said that right. Again, Merab, if you are counting out Merab against Sugar Sean O'Malley, you may be in for a surprise. I am picking Merab on that one if they do fight. I would say Merab is going to be able to beat Sugar Sean. But we go on to the next list, like Sandhagen. I think O'Malley will take Sandhagen with the stand up. I think he's got too much range. I think he's too sharp of a striker. We've got, who else is in there? Like you said, you had Cheeto. I think he can get the rematch against Cheeto. I think he'll be able to beat that. I think that's it, right? The top 5, right? So we've got some fights ahead of him. Merab is going to be the biggest challenge in my opinion. That's the dark horse. They were talking about Rob Font and Dominic Cruz, but, don't bring them up. We got a long list. We've got some killers in the top 5 first before we talk about those guys. But, bantamweight is shifted now. Bantamweight shifted into this whole new direction now. We've got a champ who is kind of the opposite style of Aljamain Sterling. A long, lanky striker, smooth on the feet, brash, arrogant, very, very cocky. And, you got to love it in the points. Definitely someone who's got a high IQ for distance striking and managing pace. And we're going to see how O'Malley does as the champion now. With all the pressure now being champion, with having that target on your back, we're going to see how he deals with it. There's going to be a lot of guys gunning for him, and I'm excited to see these new matchups in the bantamweight division. Who else we got, Mark, in the remainder of the top 10 for the bantamweight division? Just real quick recap. Rob Font's in there for sure, right?
Yeah. At 8, we have Song Yadong.
Ooh, Song Yadong. Okay.
Then we have 9 at Dom Cruz.
Dom Cruz. I respect him, but I don't think he's gonna be giving O'Malley much of a challenge. And then who do we else got?
10 is Pedro Munhoz.
And Pedro Munhoz, obviously, after the eye poke gate, that is not going to be an enticing rematch for O'Malley. Cody Garbrandt's no longer in there. Cody Garbrandt's going probably out of the top 15, huh?
Yeah, he's not here.
Man, what a crazy way. This is crazy how Dominic's still in there. No TJ Dillashaw in there either?
Nope.
Oh, wow, we got a big change. Bantamweight shifted, and bantamweight's a banger division. We got some banger fights and banger matchups coming up there. But, it's changed a lot. And just in general, we're looking at a new superstar in Sean O'Malley, a new superstar, a new king of the division, and we're going to see how that turns out. We haven't had a legit super hyped up champion in a while. I mean, last one, besides John Jones is a superstar, obviously, for his skill, but John Jones has his reputation, obviously, that, causes issues for some. Francis Ngannou left the UFC and he's no longer there. I mean, he was the big hitter. Champs wise, you got Volk. You know, Volk is definitely there, but Sugar Sean's a little different. Sugar Sean, something about Sugar Sean that just makes it a little different. He's got that air around him. He's got that aura around him that just shows confidence, that shows a little different approach to the fight game. You know, his appearance is obviously different. You know, he's flashy. He likes to showboat, and he likes to show off what he can do. And at the same time, he's calculated. He's patient. He's not too reckless of a fighter. You know, he's actually really, really intelligent in there when he comes down to fighting and managing the distance. But at the same time, he's doing a lot outside of the cage. He's doing his podcast. He's selling his merch. You know, he's making business moves. You see him all over the media. And, you know, now that he's a champion, he's going to become more and more a household name. More people are going to be talking about him. More and more people. Come Monday in the office, everyone's going to be talking about that knockout they saw in the UFC and be watching the next thing you know, every single fight, they're going to be having the Sugar Sean afros and everything. Like Mark was saying, everyone seemed to be a Sugar Sean fan. Everyone in Boston, even, you know, Boston is like a stone's throw away from where Aljamain Sterling lives. Aljamain Sterling lives in Jersey, and you know, O'Malley being from Arizona, coming from almost across the whole country. And to hear everyone booing Aljamain, again, styles make fights. It's not about only how much you win. You know, if you have style, if you put on a good show, if you're really, really entertaining as a person, not only inside but outside the ring too, you're gonna get fans. You're gonna get guys who buy your tickets. And sometimes it doesn't matter, you know, what the record is in boxing. Sometimes what happens, in MMA specifically, in boxing it is about the record a lot of times, but in MMA it's about how you fight. It's about what kind of show do you bring and what are you gonna do to cause excitement for the audience. So I'm excited to see the Sugar era. I'm very, very happy to see it. Sugar Sean O'Malley, again, one of those prospects we saw early on that no one had any idea that he would be able to have that kind of power just by looking at him and seeing his physical stature. But when you see him fight, you see him put them hands on guys. It is just something else to see, and it's an amazing sight to see. A skinny boy like that having that much power, oh man, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Mark, what you got?
Definitely tricked me for sure.
Yeah,
but dude, I'm so happy for Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, we got some guys, man. I mean, again, when it comes down to it, you know, the physical demeanor, the way you look, the way you act, all that stuff doesn't matter. What really matters is how do you fight. You know, when it comes down to this sport, is how do you fight. You can talk all this game. You can go crazy outside. You can do whatever you need to. I mean, whatever you want in a sense, right? There's people who have crazy lives and crazy lifestyles, and some guys who are super disciplined and super timid, or you know, whatever the case. People of all types of ages and abilities. But when it comes down to it, how you fight speaks more on anything else. Making sure that you have the answer to the puzzles that you encounter in the ring, and being able to capitalize on the moments when you see opportunity, and not wasting any moments like that to try to make sure you become who you are destined to become, in a sense. You know, these fights are all going to be difficult for one, and you know, it's going to be a show for another. It's going to be one of the greatest experiences of their life. Unfortunately, Aljamain Sterling was on the short end of the stick this last night, and he's got to bounce back. I would not be surprised to see a rematch between those two. And with that, I guess I am getting summoned, and we're wrapping it up for the day, guys. Let me turn off this before I mess up the rest of the pod. But Mark, any last closing thoughts before we go for the day?
Yeah, one more thing for you, G, is you see Sean O'Malley in the post-fight press conference call out Gervonta Davis.
Oh yes, Gervonta Davis. That is going to be. I forgot how can I forget that one. Gervonta Davis is going to hear that call out from Sean O'Malley. I'm excited to see what happens there, and I am hoping that that doesn't happen anytime soon. I hope that happens later, because I think Sean has some work to do in the UFC before they make a boxing match. And against Gervonta Davis, that is going to be a hell of a opponent, and he's got to be careful. Without talking about grappling, kicking, or anything like that, if you're talking about straight punch power, Gervonta Davis is a problem. You got to be careful, Sugar Sean, with that. But we'll see. Who knows? He wants that paycheck. We may make it happen. If it does happen, we're definitely coming back on the pod and talking about it. Guys, appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Train hard. Stay consistent. See you guys later.